Like I said, I'm not Dad, but he's doing fine. He's doing great. I, on the other hand, am exhausted. We had an intensive last Friday, so I stayed up all night, and then Saturday my sleeping schedule was totally screwed up, and so I think I slept last night, maybe, like after 3, and then woke up at 7-ish, so bear with me if I chase squirrels or whatever. But I am really excited about this, so even if I don't look like it, and even if I'm like, why you feel them, what their purpose is, what are they supposed to do with them. This all started, to give you a bit of my background, and I won't go too deep into it, but I have this thing called Asperger's, so it's high-functioning autism, basically, but it means I see the world a little differently. Things are either right or wrong, black and white, stuff like that, not color-wise, but emotion-wise. So I either am neutral, as in I normally don't feel anything. I do feel things, they get really, really intense. When I get mad, when I get sad, when I get happy, whenever I love something or hate something, it typically means it's an extreme thing that brought me to that point. And it's kind of compared to a switch. I'm either off or on, and there's not a lot of in between. And up till recently, I've kept the switch off for the most bit, because I don't know if y'all know this, but when you feel things, it hurts a lot. Like, even happiness can, things so important. Here recently, I want to feel more, and so I've been trying to keep the switch on. I know that's probably weird, and probably very few people in the audience get that, but just to let you know where I'm coming from, and maybe it'd help see yourselves a little better, because if what I feel is just a normal emotion and it's that intense, I don't know how y'all make it. I can't do that. That's the only thing I can think of. But stimuli hits, I react a certain way when I see a face, when I do a whatever. That's how we feel, and I get that, and that's important, but I want to dig more into why God put that system into us. Why did he give us those chemicals? Because I'm convinced it was for a reason. Now, some of those are kind of easy. Joy, I think, is fairly straightforward. I think God wants us to be happy. Can I get an amen? I don't think that's all he wants for us, but I definitely think that his ultimate presence. But somewhere along the line, some of these emotions got kind of twisted. Fear, I believe, was given to us for a good reason. I think God built fear into us because we should be scared of some things. If I walk into a zoo and fall into a lion pit, the natural reaction should not be not caring. I should be afraid at this moment, unless I'm a professional lion. I think there was a purpose for it, but somewhere down the line, it got twisted. And fear can cripple you and break you and keep you from doing the things you're supposed to do. And I don't think that's why we have that. So we're actually dealing with two issues. Why did God give us emotions? And how do we overcome those emotions in ways that we shouldn't be feeling them? How do we not let those emotions control us and go wild and crazy? Because that's when people get hurt, Christians. And so if the first verse wants to get pulled up, it should be Philippians 4:8. There we go. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any moral excellence, and if there is any praise, dwell on these things. I can wrap all of that up in one sentence. Be positive. You're supposed to be positive, good. Even if the world is all black, there is a smidgen. Yet, I'm working on it. And it doesn't mean that if somebody hurts you, you keep running towards them, because that's how you just get hurt more and more. It's a bad idea. But even if someone hurts you, even if you hate them and everything about them, if it's a person, they are made in the image of God. There is something positive in every situation. So why carrot and the stick? The carrot being positive emotions. I think that joy, happiness, good feelings, laughter was meant to draw us to God. That we were meant to feel those things and be drawn closer to him, because ultimately he is the source of happiness. We can get it from other people, we can get it from things, but that's a twisting. I'm not saying don't enjoy other people. Wouldn't let rest on what somebody else thinks or does or feels about you. That's why you see so many unhappy people today, is because they put their faith, their trust, their joy in the hands of something that isn't perfect, in the hands of something that couldn't possibly love them back nearly as much as they love it. So what is the purpose of negative emotions? Why do we even need a stick? Fear, regret, all these things. Oh, hey, I skipped one. Oops. So actually, let's go back to Ephesians 4:31. Let all bitterness, anger, and wrath, shouting and slander must be removed from you, along with all malice. I told y'all I was tired. Probably going to jump around a little bit like that. Bear with me. These are all negative emotions. They need to be removed from you, and this is for a very simple reason. If you're bitter, guess how you taste to other people? It's not pleasant. You taste bitter. If you're angry and shouting all the time, you're just loud, and I stop listening. If you're talking bad about other people, even if they talked bad about you first, I'm really just noticing that you're a bad person and talk bad about people behind their back. And if you're talking about them, what do you say when I leave the room? It basically is the embodiment of bad. Get rid of everything evil, nasty, ugly, hurting. Hurting is something that I find, for some reason, a lot of people want to hold on to. I'm not free of that either. I very much get hurt sometimes, and I want a pity party for a minute. But the issue with that is hurting people typically want me and you if you want to just wallow in your misery. I'm praying for you. I love you. I wish I knew what to do, but I don't. Have fun. But when you branch out and all of a sudden it goes from your pain to other people need to feel the way that I feel and be hurt and be bad, that's when everything goes downhill really, really fast. So why did we get negative emotions? Why did we get things like sadness, depression, anger, and all of that? Or whatever, and you leave by slamming the door in their face. But it is meant to get you out of that situation. Now, the twisting of that is, if you ever have had depression, you know that it doesn't want to let you go. If you've ever been really mad in a situation, people tend to keep pushing buttons, and it doesn't seem like it wants to let go that easy. But it's meant to drive us away from those things to God. I believe negative emotions were meant originally to sin. I believe in this context, anger is absolutely a sin. Anger negatively, 100% a sin. But we get, at first glance, a conflicting message just 5 verses above in Ephesians 4:26. Be angry and do not sin. That's probably one of the most important ands in the Bible. And do not sin. So how do you be angry and not sin? Of that, but just to go over it really quick. When someone does something you don't want to happen, you get angry. Unless you're a better person than me. Really, no laughs. Okay. And so you get very negative reactions sometimes. And when you lose control and when you let the anger control you as opposed to the other way around, things go downhill. The best example I can come up with is Bruce Banner, a.k.a. the Hulk. Really cool hero. It makes a terrible human being to live around. But on the other hand, if you'll recall with me, Jesus at one point came into the temple and saw that people were selling and trading, and they had basically turned the temple into, what's a nice way to say it? There's really not one. They had turned his father's, where they were robbing people of their money. And so Jesus started flipping tables, made a whip, and lit into people. I think we can say Jesus may have been a bit upset. Maybe even angry. I don't know if this is visual enough for you. I really wanted to bring a table and flip it off the stage, but I figured they'd break and the floor would crack and then I'd have to clean it up. And I didn't want to do all that because I'm not really that mad. But getting mad is okay. Do the thing like, hey, can you move your car? Yeah, sure, in just a minute. And then 3 hours later, the car's still there and you're still blocked in and everything's gone to crap and it's all bad. And you say something you shouldn't have. That's destructive. That doesn't really help anybody. Maybe you feel a little better, but you hurt everybody that was part of the situation. What Jesus did was constructive. Maybe not that particular set, like the stick. It's meant to make you go into action, to do something. And I believe there are things in this world that should make us angry. But what about sadness? This one was hard for me. I don't, like I said, emotions are kind of weird for me, and they're either really intense or off. Tend to shut down during sad moments, rather. And so trying to figure out a purpose for it got a little difficult until not this weekend, but the last. My cat, Tiger, died, passed away, is with us now. But man, I loved him. And I don't have to lock my door anymore to keep him from coming in and waking me up at 3 a.m. Not that it would have mattered tonight. And we were coming home, but we were hours away, and we just couldn't make it there in time. Fortunately, FaceTime is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I did get to say goodbye to my cat. And we buried him, and all is good, but just, leave it there. What is the point of sadness? What is the purpose? I'm feeling this. There has to be a reason. And so as I dug in, I started to find a few reasons. The first one is probably a quick glimpse into my mind, but it's a call for help. It's biological. Humans are social creatures. And so me showing sadness by crying initially makes other people care. You went through that grieving process. I was surrounded by love from everybody. And it was awesome. Because I knew that, even though this terrible thing had happened that couldn't be reversed, life was going to go on, and I was still going to be loved, and everything was great. The second reason is tears are a wonderful healing tool. Not physically. Physically, they're a waste of salt and water. There's something about letting it go. There's something about crying that just purifies all the hurt, all the pain, that just lets it out. And the third reason that I think we feel sadness is just because, man, some things are worth being sad about. We have one more verse we want to pull. Jesus was sad. And I don't know how you translate weeping, but I picture crying as kind of, we're going to make it. But weeping is on your knees, on the ground, no concern about who's where. Jesus poured his heart out. But why? What led Jesus to this? Well, if you knew this day what would bring peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes. For the days will come on you when your enemies will build an embankment against you, surround you, and hem you in on every side. They will crush you and your children within you to the ground, and they will not leave one stone on another in you, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation. Jesus wept because Jerusalem was going to miss, and he knew it. And he knew it wasn't going to end well. And so he wept because they were worth it. I believe there are things that should make us sad. In closing, I have some numbers I'd like to read off. And 95% of millennials, that's born from 1990 to 2000, 95% of them are not regular church attenders. 4% claim to be Christians. I don't know how we lost that 1% there. I'm guessing there were some roundings involved, or there's a 1% that comes and doesn't say they're Christian. Church. I don't know what that does to you. But if you are born from 1990 to 2000, can you raise your hand for me really quick? I figured we'd get a decent amount. We're a little more diversified than others, and I'm very proud of that. If you just raised your hand, I salute you. Did you notice how many hands weren't raised? Did you notice that we have 4 or 5 high schools around here, and we had a little over 10 people raise their hand? I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but I do have one more excerpt from an article that I read, and it broke my heart. I would like for you to hear. Illiterate, easily suggestible bystanders to go along with them. It may have been sound church business at one time, but these self-righteous reservoirs are drying up. As the old folks in these communities die out and the buildings themselves grow dormant with no new converts to fill them, they are quickly becoming dusty museums of a religious bigotry, and thankfully, fewer and fewer people feel like practicing. They have no interest in a church who doesn't seem at all burdened to attend to the real suffering in the world, preferring to protest musicals, out terrified teenagers, and police public bathrooms for non-existent boogeymen. I know that's one article. I know that's just one person's opinion, and I know that's just one person's voice. That's just someone who happened to have a blog that I read. And if you think it's just one article, Google anything regarding millennials. I promise you, somewhere in there, something like that will come up, because a third of my generation doesn't just not understand Jesus. They hate him because of the church. I don't know how that makes you feel. I don't know if that makes you feel. And I don't want to be there. I don't want that to be the case. And it makes me sad and it makes me mad. And so I'm going to do something about it. And I'm no good at that. I'm honestly terrible at it. But I have a passion for it. Oh, what makes you feel? I don't know what you feel strongly about, but I promise you there needs to be something. It may not be my generation, and that's fine. It may not even be your generation, and that's fine. You may not even know what it is. That's fine. Find it and go after it. That's why God gave us emotions. Because there is a hurting world out there that needs people that really care about them. If Heath wants to come up, the invitation today is really, really simple. If you don't have that passion, if you don't know what it's like to have that relationship with God, I'm going to be right there. And I'm just going to ask, why do you come? And we'll go from there. Maybe today you do have that relationship, but you don't have that passion and you don't know why. I'd love to talk about it. Let's find it, man. Let's get it. And maybe you have the passion and you know what it is and you just haven't done anything about it. I challenge you, person to person, eye to eye. I challenge you to do something, anything move, either towards the carrot or... We're about to take up our tithes and offerings, so if you need to prepare for that in any way, please feel free to do so now. I'd also like to take a moment and thank those who've already given online or through the app. We talked about being real at the intensive, what it means to be a real Christian and what it means when you're not. We talked a lot about how being real often takes control and sacrifice. And so as we go to God, let's continue to worship. And let's worship Him for real. Dear God, thank you. Thank you for all that you do. We love you. And we praise you. Amen.